Imagine this scenario. Exam day arrives and your teacher's passing out the test. You receive yours last. Great. You read the first problem and realize everything you had studied last night up until 3 a.m. isn't on the test. And what you did study has just fallen out of your head. Suddenly, everyone around you starts taking out their rulers. For what? You go through every single question on the test. There are none that require a ruler, right? Right? You feel lightheaded, nauseous, ready to pass out. Oh God, you think, I'm doomed. Has this ever happened to you? Well, it's happened to me. I've spent years suffering under the pressure of being graded on tests in school. And it's not only tests I get graded on. Student success and performance is measured in a myriad of ways. Work habits, participation, cooperation, you name it, it's all graded. You are even graded on whether or not you come prepared to class. Look, some days I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, much less remembering to bring my 6 notebooks, pencil case, calculator, books, laptop, charger, water bottle, the 16 assignments which were all due the same day. Oh, and of course, our cafeteria lunch card to school each day. And if I'm not in the mood to talk to people, well, guess what? I just got an F for participation. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I've come here to tell you about the origins of our archaic education system. We'll also explore the negative consequences of teaching with this outdated philosophy. And finally, we'll take a look at some possible solutions. Modern schools, as we understand them, where most people had access and or were mandated to attend, became the norm in most industrialized countries in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Though revolutionary at the time, the system was designed to create students suited for the industrial age, in which their primary objective was to create future factory workers who were trained to follow instructions. This system, these schools, featured rote learning, students in rows reciting materials taught from lectures and textbooks, and featured assessments in which students regurgitated information, resulting in either numbered or lettered grades that would rank students in a hierarchy. Unfortunately, not all that much has changed in education since the 19th century. In an article from 2019 entitled The Education, Industrial Complex, and 21st Century Learning, Kyle Pierce points out that our modern world has changed dramatically since the 19th century. But in many ways, our approach to education has not kept pace with these changes. Pierce, among other educational reformers, argue that in today's world, we need an education system that produces curious team players who have a passion for learning, something that a one-size-fits-all approach ranking individuals can never create. Schools aren't living up to their primary purpose, which is to develop us into independent, creative, innovative members of society. In way too many schools, even this one, the administration and teachers schedule, map out, and dictate every minute of the student's day, telling them where to be, telling them what to do, even telling them when to pee. This type of system, with teachers controlling students' every move, leaves students with no room to manage their own time, make their own decisions, discover their passions, or learn how to make the right choices by themselves, which is what is needed for students to find success today. So let's take a deeper look at some of the main limitations of today's outdated school systems. Now, the first limitation would be a lack of what many call authentic learning. Authentic learning, according to the Glossary of Education Reform, is a wide variety of educational and instructional techniques which allows students to explore, discuss, and meaningfully construct concepts and relationships in contexts that involve real-world problems and projects that are relevant to the student. Now, before you start wondering, why should I listen to a teenage girl stressing about her grades and complaining about the education system? Let me assure you that these ideas of replacing the traditional factory-style learning with more authentic opportunities started long before today. As far back as 1896, John Dewey founded the first laboratory school in the University of Chicago. Dewey's aim was to challenge conventional points of view towards children's education and develop schools who were supportive communities. He believed that the traditional factory learning that controls our education system was inadequate and encouraged a passive, static learning style. The laboratory school was designed to explore the principle that students learn best when they understand the purpose of what they are being taught and are learning through authentic tasks. Dewey's experimental school classes were carefully planned as an extension of what the children were experiencing in the real world through a variety of hands-on projects. Now, instead of just following Dewey's wisdom, in most schools today, students continue to be herded like sheep in hallways and lined up like factory workers in classrooms, reading the same passages from the same books and answering the same essay questions. Instead of making school a place where students can authentically explore our world, students are forced to contemplate the hypothetical probability of an apple falling from the tree if the wind of the apple is 1.05 newtons to the right. I truly wonder if Newton would approve. And moreover, another limitation of today's outdated school systems is a devotion to uniformity. Most schools today do little to spark innovation or creativity. Instead, in order to maintain control and making the teaching process easier for the school, the program is organized so that all children in a class complete the same tasks at the same time. Because what we don't understand is everyone learns differently. Which means, for one thing, that people learn at different speeds. Which is why it makes so little sense that students are grouped into classes based on their biological age. Beginning as early as primary school and continuing through secondary school, the journey of education can be vastly different depending on whether a child is a boy or a girl. Since, let's be honest, every student, teacher, and parent here today knows that during middle school and early high school years, girls are much more developed than boys. We can't deny it. It's basic biology. Whilst boys are still squirming in their 5th grade bodies, girls become much taller, their bodies much more developed. And it isn't only the physical changes happening at different paces, since once girls and boys are born, their brains continue to take different paths. Various MRI studies show that some regions grow faster in female brains, whilst others grow faster in male brains. So, the brains of both boys and girls who are at the same age are usually at very different developmental stages. By middle school, the boys are trailing behind the girls physically, mentally, and socially. And if this is true, which it is, then why are we putting boys and girls of the same age in the same classes with the same program? Now, don't worry, guys. Eventually the boys too catch up. But still, it doesn't even matter if you're a boy and your brain isn't as developed as the rest of the girls in the class, because no matter what the reason for being behind other students is, in many schools, if you dare go a little slower in learning something in class, you're then considered dumb or a failure. It's just incredibly demotivating. However, if a student goes a little faster than the rest of the class, they're told to sit still and wait for the rest to catch up. So, teachers are trying to teach to the level of the average student. And the problem with that is a system that caters to the average student alienates everyone else. And why? Because no one is the average. Teaching to the average leaves little room for students' own interest and passion. And what happens when students struggle to fit into this archaic system? When they get behind the rest of the class or get buried under the pressure of making the grade, what do? Some students, well actually the vast majority, cannot and will not stand for the possibility of getting bad grades. So what is it that many students will revert to? Cheating. Yes, they end up cheating. Now, Grandma, are you sitting down? Yes? Okay, good. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you here, and everyone, I've cheated on a test before. Okay, sure, it was in 4th grade and all, but still, the fact that I had the amount of stress for a test at 9 years old that I felt I had to cheat on it says a lot about the flaws of our education system. And it turns out it isn't even just me. The International Center for Academic Integrity surveyed 70,000 high school students between 2002 and 2015. Their survey showed us that 58% of students had plagiarized papers, and 95% admitted to cheating in some sort of way on their exams. And cheating on exams can be done for various reasons. The most common being the external pressures students feel to maintain high grades. When grades have such high stakes as GPA, honor roll, scholarships, and university acceptance, is it any surprise that students may cheat? Even more so, apart from having the grading system lead to someone cheating on their exams, it is also a huge cause of stress and anxiety. Even in some cases, mental illness. In 2018, there was a Pew Research Center survey which indicated that academic pressure was at the top of the list of stressors for teenagers. Just the fear of getting a bad grade, never mind actually getting a bad grade, accumulates significant stress and anxiety in children and teens. And this anxiety causes real harm that ultimately prevents learning and damages academic performance. Besides being a giant stressor, Alfie Kohn also argued that traditional grading systems do little to enhance learning and actually get in the way of progress. Kohn claims students with high grades get complacent, while students with low grades get demotivated. It's a lose-lose situation. Students become preoccupied with the numbers and letters associated with grading instead of focusing on learning, the thing that really matters. So what are we doing here, people? What does all these limitations in our education system tell us? It's time to change our ways. And luckily for us, there are various modern reformers and schools that are trying to forge a new path. The website The Best Schools has an article written by Evan Thompson, which states that Alverno College, Bennington College, and Brown University are just 3 of the many institutions that favor new methods like a pass-fail grading system, self-assessment, and professor-written assessments instead of letter grades. Because in reality, there are many things that can replace the grading system. We could have a master-based education system, which is an educational program that helps students master a set of skills appropriate to their grade level. There are also some reformed-minded schools like High Tech High in San Diego, which promote project-based learning. Unfortunately, cool schools like this remain experimental and are few and far between. Another solution would be to adopt the philosophy of the Montessori school system. Rather than simply filling children with facts, Montessori education strives to nurture each child's natural desire for knowledge, understanding, and respect. This approach is like music to my ears. Some people argue that if you want to be successful at something, you should copy and steal the good ideas from those who have already succeeded at that thing. So, whose education system have stood out in the 21st century for its consistently high results? Well, the answer to that would be Nordic countries. The Nordic countries are consistently scored at the top of the educational rankings. So, why not copy their education system? Let's compare one specific Nordic country, Finland, with the US. Finland has shorter school days, minimal homework, and focuses on student learning, not content average. How is it that Finnish schools teach less, but students learn more? Well, first of all, Finnish children don't start school until the age of 7, allowing them to develop their personalities freely before being forced into the conformity of a school system. Finnish students also spend less hours in school and more time outside playing. In the Finnish system, students' own needs, along with a focus on teacher development and student mastery of skills, are all prioritized. Additionally, students in Finland get more hands-on activities in classrooms, rather than simply testing on rote memorization. Why is it that we are still using an outdated system when Nordic countries have already figured out a better way? Look, I'm no academic expert. I'm just a kid. But I'm living this system daily. So I do have some insight that some of you adults may have forgotten. To me, the whole system feels unhealthy, inhuman, and ineffective. There has got to be a better way. I don't know what that better way is, whether it is a pass-fail grading, project-based learning, student-led learning, or changing all our nationalities to Finnish. But all of these reformers have been saying the same things for countless years for a reason. I don't know who is right or wrong, but all I do know is that we are stuck in an ongoing cycle which isn't right, and we need to start changing as soon as possible. Otherwise, until we follow a new path in education, I guess I'll be traveling back to the 1800s every Monday morning. Thank you.